Bon dia, good morning guys. I hope you're having a wonderful day. As you may be able to tell from the title of this video, it's a little bit different from what we usually film. As a lot of you may know, there was recently a big power cut across Portugal, Spain and some of France, and it kind of got me thinking a lot about our lives here and things that might be useful to share for events like this. As we shared at the time, we weren't really affected by this power cut because we live off grid. The only thing we lost was communication because all the internet and mobile data went down. So yeah, I just thought it would be interesting to share the systems that we have in place that have helped us in this situation, and also a few things that kind of crossed my mind whilst the power cut was happening of ways that we can be better prepared. And I don't want to be dramatic or a fearmongerer, but going through something like that did really happen, and a few other events over the last year. For example, in North Wales, a lot of the houses lost their water supply, and just a few little things that have made me start to think that maybe being a little bit more prepared for when systems fail could be just a really positive thing to do in life. And you know, we live here off-grid not because we're preparing for anything, but just because we want to live rurally in this beautiful space, so we kind of have to be off-grid. But it was really interesting that we were just so unaffected. This video is also in collaboration with Bluetti. They're a company that we've worked with for years, and they are the reason that we were not affected by the power cut. So I thought I would also go through the 4 system setups that we have with Bluetti, so that if you were wanting to get yourself a backup power system, you can see the ones that we have so that you can make a more informed choice of what might work for you. Hopefully it will be interesting and useful, and just something I've been thinking about since the power cut. It wasn't a very big dramatic power cut. It lasted, I think, 12 hours, but it was just kind of seeing the impact that it did have, and if it had lasted longer, the repercussions that could have come from that. So, and I know there are other countries that experience things like this quite often. I know in South Africa the electricity often goes down, and I know in America when you have the big storms, these things happen. So perhaps coming from those countries, you'd naturally be more prepared for these kind of things, whereas I think in Europe we've not often experienced that. So yeah, I just thought, having experienced it, perhaps I could share things that are useful in case these things start becoming more regular. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but one of our neighbours is screaming. Not Iwan today. Anyway, the first system I will tell you about, I'll work my way down from our biggest system to the smallest one. We have the Bluetti AC180, which is a big kind of inverter, and then you can expand that system with the B300S batteries, and you can add up to 6 of these, which makes it a huge powerful system that can run a house basically. And that's what we have set up in our kitchen currently, and is what we run everything on. So this is fantastic if you just want to basically still be able to run your house if the grid went down, or if you are off grid. We use this to run our fridge, our aircon, our water pump from the well, which is quite powerful. That takes about 600 watts. The water then goes through a big filtration system and a UV filter, and yeah, basically can just run the whole house, toaster, kettle, everything. And because it can power 5,000 watts at a time, that means you'd really have to be powering so many things for it to cut out. And we've actually found in a lot of the Portuguese houses when we've stayed at an Airbnb or with friends that the tariffs here, when you're on the grid, they only allow a certain limit as well. So if you had like the toaster and the aircon on at the same time, you can sometimes trip the system. We did that in a Lisbon Airbnb. So I think it's quite impressive how much it can run, because we can just have everything on. So yeah, getting that system basically changed our lives living here, made us so much more comfortable. You know, we spent a couple of years living without a fridge or well, definitely not aircon and things like that. So the luxuries electricity affords us, you really notice when it's down. So we have this set up to a few solar panels. I think we have two of the Bluetti foldable solar panels, which are I think 400 watts each, and then we have about 1,000 watts in total in front of the kitchen. So we have all that going in to keep it charged. If there's a big storm in the winter, then the batteries do get low. We have to power that back up with a petrol generator. But in general here, the sun is shining most of the time, so that's worked really well for us. But as with all the systems I will talk about today, they can be charged in multiple ways. So if you are on the grid, you could keep that battery powered up through your on-grid system so that it's full, and then if there's a power cut, then that's your backup. And you can also, as I've mentioned, charge up a petrol generator, solar system. You could power it off your car. It has a DC input that's more useful for the smaller systems that are more transportable. And then the more batteries you have expanded on it, the longer that you would be able to run your house without having to power it back up. But if you had a few solar panels and the sun was shining, then you'd be able to keep your house running. We currently have our setup with 3 expandable batteries. We do actually have a 4th one, but you can't put them all on top of each other more than, so we have AC500 and 3 batteries. We can't put a 4th battery underneath because it would be too heavy, and we don't have space for it currently. So our plan is to build a little utility room, because I am dreaming of getting a dishwasher, especially now we have baby on the way, and Iwan really wants to get a bigger chest freezer so we can do a bit of meal prep as well. So we're hoping to get that sorted so we can power a few more things. So yeah, obviously this bigger system is a little bit more of an investment, but because we use the solar power, then we're not paying for electricity, so in the long term it will pay for itself. And then I will talk about the second system that we have in a more permanent setup, which is in this cabin. So in here we have the AC200 set up more permanently, which we use to power the cabin. This is actually the older model because we've had it for about 3 years now, I think. It has been put to use for many things. They now have the AC200 Max, which you can expand with another battery similar to the AC500, which is brilliant because you can then expand it as your power needs may increase. We have this just set up. We had our friend Fabian, the electrician, came in and wired up the whole cabin, and what he did was, for all the lights and electrical outputs, so we have 4 here, I think we have maybe 7 altogether, and then all the lights are also wired up, and then they just come into a regular plug, so we can then just plug that into the AC200, and the whole cabin is then powered from that, and then we can plug anything into the electrical outlets. Like we currently have a fan for the nights as it's starting to get a bit hotter. I sometimes plug the washing machine from outside into this one as well, because we've got 2 400-watt panels on the veranda roof that come into here, also through the wall. They just plug in here, and it is pretty much always on 100% throughout the day. So we try and use this one as much as possible because we've got a lot of excess electricity here. So it has a 2000-watt output, so I don't think there's anything we would be using. I think actually the only thing it can't power that we have is our miter saw, which is a very powerful saw, and that's the only thing that this struggled to power. It can do everything that we currently have, so it's quite powerful for how small it is. It is also a lot more portable than the AC500. I think it's around 25 kilos, so if you're feeling strong you can pick it up. I normally push it around in the wheelbarrow if I need to put it somewhere else. Because we've used it to power the cement mixer, we've lent it to friends that have needed some extra power sometimes. So this is a great kind of in-betweener that you can use in a more permanent setting, but it's also quite transportable. Again, you can plug this into your car outlet. It would work great in a van setup, and I think if you just want to cover the basics like run a fridge if there was a power cut, you know, things that don't take as much electricity, you could run a fridge for quite a long time on a full one of these, and lights, they really don't take much electricity, so it would just be a good one like we use in here for just small basic things. But you know, you could also power a kettle on it as well. So I'm not sure on the AC200 Max if the front setup is a little bit different, but we've got two of the AC outputs, lots of USB slots as well, and the DC output as well, which is what we would use for our diesel heater. All the Bluettis have a very similar touchscreen setup as well, which is really easy to use, and you can link them all to the app on your phone, so you can check how they're all doing, what the power available is in them. Oh, and also most of the Bluettis now have a wireless charging output on the top, so once you have the DC selected on, you can put your phone on top to charge that as well. But yeah, I just think this is a really solid all-rounder at quite a good price point for what you're getting for it, and the fact that you can move it around to different areas of the land, we've found that super helpful as well. Okay, it's getting quite warm in there, so I've come back outside. But I forgot to say, we are planning to set up an air conditioning unit in the cabin. We'll share about that before the summer really kicks in, so I'm intrigued to see how well it runs that, because the air conditioner obviously uses quite a lot of power. I think in the day it'll be absolutely fine, it's just at night. Before I move on to the other two Bluetti products that we use, I thought I would share some of the other things during the power cut that I think we could have been better prepared for the small inconvenience we did experience. So one thing was being able to pay for things, because when the power cut actually happened, we were in the supermarket at the time, so all the power shut off. We assumed it was just that one supermarket. Turns out it was countrywide. When it first happened, I don't know how, but the till and the card machine were still working, so we were able to pay for our shopping. But as the day progressed, all the card machines stopped working because all the communications shut down, and all the ATMs got emptied, so people didn't have any means to pay for things. So one thing we're going to try and keep on top of is just always keeping cash. I think we did actually have 20 euros on us, but we are thinking of maybe like getting a little safe and just always having 50 to 100 euros in there. You just never know. And for example, I mean, we're self-sufficient in drinking water currently, but if there was a case where we couldn't and we needed to go buy water, which is, you know, your most basic need, if we didn't have cash, we wouldn't have been able to do that. The second other thing, obviously, we experienced not having any communication because of the internet going down, but we have friends who do have Starlink satellite internet, and they were able to still access the internet from that. To be honest, it was actually really nice to have no mobile data or internet for a whole afternoon and evening. It felt very like peaceful and calming just to be disconnected. But it was also a bit disconcerting that, you know, we couldn't check what was going on. We had no idea when things were going to come back in. So just being able to check the news. So that is something we're half considering, is whether to get Starlink satellite internet. I'm not sure we will yet. But I guess that leads to another point, is the importance of your community, because we have friends that have it, so we could just go and visit them and use it if we needed to. And then the final other thing that if the power cut lasted longer, we would have been affected by is access to food. We're not very good at keeping stores in. We have chickens, so we would always have eggs. We've got a huge supply of olive oil from our trees and a few vegetables growing in the garden, but I think now we're thinking of just having some more basics kept in the cupboard. A few cans of tinned tomatoes and some beans and some rice, and you can eat pretty well off that. You don't need to do anything too wild. So yeah, they're just the other tips that I think we're going to implement to be better prepared for if this ever happens again. Hopefully it doesn't, but they're just simple things that don't take much. So moving back to the Bluetti products, they are, I think they call them solar generators because they are mainly made to be powered up by solar. Obviously the alternative that you have to having a solar power bank is a petrol generator, which we do have. We have one. I am wanting to save up for this winter to get a more powerful one. Our current one is 2000 watts. I would like to get a 5000 watt one because we can then power up our main battery system a lot faster off that, and petrol generators are just horrible to have on this, so loud, and obviously you're using fuel, so then the electricity isn't free, whereas when we have it on solar it is. And the other point with the petrol generators is when this power cut happened and people did start panic buying, one of the things people started panic buying was fuel, because I guess most people in this area would have a petrol generator as their backup, so you can't 100% rely on having the access to the fuel that you need to power that. We didn't actually have any fuel left in when it happened as well, so just another thing of always trying to make sure that you do have petrol in if that's what you're relying on. I think we might get another petrol fuel tank just so that when one's empty, we have still always got a full one on site, because we use it a lot for trimming the grass as well. Just another thing that was on my mind when this happened. It is getting a little bit warm. I think I'll show you the other two products this evening, because one of them we're using to set up for our watering irrigation system in the garden, so I'll show you that then, and I'm going to go and make some lunch and I'll come back to that. So this is the next one I'll show you. I've had it charging on the AC200 today. We need to water the garden, so I'm going to get Iwan to carry this down to the garden for me. So this one is the AC180 and it has an output of 1800 watts, so still very, very powerful for the size. A lot more portable because it's even lighter than the AC200, so normally when I'm not pregnant I can carry this one quite comfortably. I think it's about 16 kilos, but again I also carry it around in the wheelbarrow. I think the frog in the well wants to tell you about it as well. We're going to set this one up more permanently down here. We just need to build it a little building, and we'll use one of the Bluetti foldable solar panels that we have up by the house. We'll use that down here, and we're going to set a timer on this so that the sprinklers come on by themselves every evening. Again, I'd just say this is quite a good all-rounder. It's going to power most things. I did an experiment with the fridge a few videos ago, and this used 10% of its power in an hour. 10% of its power in an hour, powering the fridge, so you could power the fridge for 10 hours off this. So that's pretty good. That would buy you a lot of time to keep your food fresh if there was a power cut. And of course, if you also had a solar panel set up for something like this and you were able to plug your fridge into it whilst it's charging off a solar panel, then obviously you can keep it running all day until the sun sets. Then it would probably keep it running long enough overnight that the food wouldn't spoil. Either you can have a standard solar panel or get one of Bluetti's foldable panels that you can put in and out quite easily as and when you need it. Yeah, could be a really good little setup for that. I'd say the main difference between this one and the AC200 is because of the size. You've got a lot more kilowatt hours, so the AC200 will power things for a lot longer. So that's just what the pump is currently drawing from it. and I think this is how many hours it could power the pump for, 2.3 hours. Our garden will be very wet by then. I'm going to leave the sprinklers to it because I'm being very interrupted by a noisy frog. So this is the final one that we have. This is the AC60, which is just a handy one for doing lots of different things all over the land, and you can expand it with a B80 battery. You just connect them through a wire that I cannot currently find. I think it's in our box in the barn chaos. Yeah, just a wire, and then they're connected together. So then this inverter will also use the power from this battery, and this battery does have its own USB, so you can use it independently, and the DC. So I think this one is most handy if you just don't want to power anything super energy consumptive. Like, I don't think you'd power a fridge that long unless you had it linked up and had a solar panel attached, then no problem at all. But if you just wanted like to keep a laptop running, keep your phone charged up, keep the lights on, little things like that, this would be a great choice. And this is also, we tend to carry one of these in the car with us whenever we do a long journey. It's fantastic for that. Or if you're just going on like a camping trip or a picnic and you wanted some power, then these are so portable and they do last a really long time for the smaller appliances. Actually, let me plug in my phone to charge. Okay, it's currently on 100%. Okay, so now I'm only drawing 9 watts. The phone only needs something small, and that's 42.6 hours. So you'd probably get, I don't know, 50 or more charges of a phone out of that. Lights will draw probably something similar. I'm not 100% sure how much a light would draw, but yeah, it's great. And we actually use these mostly in the winter due to their DC output. These are the ones we use for the diesel heater, and we just swap them out when one battery dies and then put the other one in its place and put the other one on charge. This can power up to 600 watts, so this would actually run the water pump but wouldn't do something like a toaster or a hairdryer. They're a bit too powerful for the 600 watts. So yeah, that's the coverage of the 4 Bluetti systems we have and where I think they would be useful, and hopefully that helps you if you are wanting to invest in one to make a decision. Feel free to leave any questions below. I'll leave a link to them all in the description. And Bluetti do actually currently have a bank holiday sale on until the 27th of May. So now is a good time to get a good deal if you have been thinking about getting one. And then also, if you are also feeling like you want to prepare a bit more, please leave a comment so I don't feel like the only one that is reacting to this power cut. And also, if you have any other tips of things that you're preparing that you think we could do, or as advice to other people, then that would be really cool to leave in the comments as well. But a huge thank you to Bluetti for collaborating with us on this video, and also just keeping us powered all the time. Yeah, it's amazing how much they've improved the quality of our lives here. We're super grateful that we've been able to work with them. Thank you to you guys for watching our videos, because you've given us the opportunities to work with Bluetti, and yeah, we wouldn't be here without you guys. And Bluetti for us really stand out in the industry for their quality. We've had a lot of their power banks for a long time. It was actually the very first power bank we bought ourselves. When we first invested in one, we went with Bluetti. So yeah, they've just been a standout for us. I hope that's helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.